Michael, you are Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at Cityzenith, based in Chicago, United States.
What's your driving force as Cityzenith to engage in reducing carbon emissions?
The biggest problem that we have in cities, as you mentioned, is cities produce 70% of the world's carbon, but buildings produce 70% of that.
Michael, the target of your campaign, #CleanCitiesCleanFuture, is to get major polluting cities in the United States carbon neutral.
3 countries, all in East Asia, South Korea, China, and Japan, have all made a pledge to go carbon neutral, and we expect many other countries to follow as well.
This newly released platform aggregates, integrates, analyzes, and visualizes all project and property information on a single 3D platform.
What Smart World Pro 2 looks like is like Sim City, but for real cities.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Excellence Talk. As usual, together with Dr. Christian Forstner, we are welcoming an important guest, and this time we will move to Chicago, United States. Hello Christian.
Hello Murat, I'm very excited to have Michael Jansen here in our channel. Michael, you are Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at Cityzenith, based in Chicago, United States. As an impassioned architect, urbanist, and entrepreneur, you have founded and led high-growth companies in the US and Asia for more than 2 decades. And here's our first question.
I have the first question, Michael. South Korea joins Japan and China in pledging to reduce carbon emissions to zero by 2050. Europe has also made the pledge to be climate neutral by 2050 also, calling it the European Green Deal. These progressive countries will now pour billions of dollars in investment in clean tech innovation and other frontier technologies. You are based in the United States. What's your driving force as Cityzenith to engage in reducing carbon emissions?
Well, that's a great opening question. And yes, of course, it is known that 3 countries, all in East Asia, South Korea, China, and Japan, have all made a pledge to go carbon neutral, and we expect many other countries to follow as well. In this country over here, interestingly, climate change, climate resilience has been politicized by the current administration, which is something that it shouldn't have been. Climate change and the changing environment around us is a direct impact of human activity as a matter of geology, engineering, and science, nothing to do with politics. So having said that, in this country where the federal government perhaps dropped the ball, local governments, specifically mayors and governors, picked up the ball and began to implement policies to help their building owners go carbon neutral by 2030, for example. There's a large group here called Architecture 2030 is dedicated to that, as well as other initiatives you see from cities like Orlando to Los Angeles, which are, again, looking to take at a city level to adopt a path towards carbon neutrality, which is not insignificant. What has to happen, I think, is that under the Biden administration, we're going to see a significant change in American policy towards the subject. The timing couldn't be better. I personally, I feel that climate tech, as it were, is the next frontier of technology. We don't even know what that's going to mean. We don't even know really who's going to be innovating in that space. Really, I expect many countries to be participating, hopefully from all over the world, including places that don't traditionally innovate, like Africa and Latin America, because solutions will range from very sophisticated, high-tech things like what we do, on the digital twin side, to low-tech solutions like how to get water from here to there more quickly. I mean, all kinds of things like this are important issues as part of solving this problem. So I think, the next several years actually should be good for climate tech, frankly, given what just recently happened. So fingers crossed.
Good. Michael, the target of your campaign, #CleanCitiesCleanFuture, is to get major polluting cities in the United States carbon neutral, as opposed to creating 70% of all the world's carbon emissions currently. That's amazing. I didn't know the number. You support this very challenging goal with a quite impressive short video connecting this goal with the future of children. Why did you start this campaign in the first place, Michael?
2/3 of the world's energy is consumed by cities. 70% of global CO2 emissions are produced by cities. 68% of the world's population will be living in cities by 2050.
Our children deserve a better future. We're determined to help transform cities into cleaner, healthier places to live. Let's make this pledge a reality. Join us.
Well, I'll tell you, we've been developing this technology for a long time, digital twin technology, and the company, as the name of the company itself might suggest, Cityzenith. We've always had a focus on cities and their buildings and infrastructure from day one. And the company name itself means city and zenith, a view from the top, the ability to see everything from one place. It was always our vision that from way back, that this type of technology could be used for large purposes, including taking on the problems of tackling climate change. So as far back as 2013-14, we began collaborating with groups like the C40 Cities Group. In fact, we obtained a letter of support from them in 2014 to jointly collaborate to build a platform that would allow this important data around climate change to be aggregated in one place such that we could then begin to do things with it, basically, to see what happened, see where we are, and see what we needed to do. And the see what we needed to do part means applying artificial intelligence and things like that to help us predict the outcomes of current events. And that's really where our company comes in. Now, we've been doing this for the private sector, real estate developers, facilities companies, ports, airports, large infrastructure projects for a long time. But there really wasn't the mechanism yet or the awareness in cities yet that this was something we had to do now. What changed recently is that our tech just continued to grow over the years, since I mentioned, but the awareness, the urgency changed. And so suddenly there was a need. And I reflected on my experience thinking, okay, we have our commercial model. But how do we really get cities to do this? They don't have the technology. They have standards now. There are standards for measuring carbon. There are standards for measuring and inventorying carbon, but there just isn't a platform that actually brings all that together. We find that government steps back and falls short of wanting to create a tool for various reasons. They're happy to throw the standards out there, but afraid to build the tool. They figure that's for the private sector. So that's been given to the private sector, and the private sector has carved up different domains and created different types of tools. Our thought process is that there needed to be one type of tool that could aggregate all the other tools if taking on such a complex and large problem. So in giving this to cities, the thought process is that because it's so complex, to get to the next level with this, we need to be able to take this digital twin idea and work with cities to be able to have them use this tool to be able to help building owners reduce their carbon footprints. If we don't work with cities directly, we're not going to be able to really do this on our own. And so the thought process is that we should find, as we call, whenever you start something new, these early adopters, the most willing, the most ready to jump on board. We've begun to do that. Orlando, Melbourne, all these cities are saying yes to us. Okay, so it's going to move. And we're first going to bring together 10 of these top cities to say, okay, here's what digital twin technology does. The biggest problem that we have in cities, as you mentioned, is cities produce 70% of the world's carbon, but buildings produce 70% of that. So we need to take on that problem first. If we take on that problem, it's a big chunk, right, around the world. So in the United States and a lot of parts of the world, building owners are private. There aren't laws that require them to do things. They need to be incentivized to do things. So the intention here is to give them a path so they can take their BIM models. They can drag and drop them right into our 3D SimCity model and run simulations. Then they can change that from this to this and then run another simulation until they see what it takes to achieve that carbon neutrality. I think that's the goal, is really more of an education and a monitoring tool so that building owners will see, here's your path to getting carbon neutral. And for me, I think that's an important step because we don't have a mandate here in the US for that right now, like we have in Europe and Asia. We may at some point, but even if we do, we still need a mechanism, and that's lacking.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, Michael. The focus of your campaign, Clean Cities, Clean Future, are cities. Why do you focus on cities, as there are many other opportunities to reduce carbon emissions, obviously, for instance, power generation industry or agriculture? Maybe you were inspired by your many years of experience as an architect in India and China?
Well, I think the city for me is well, to an extent, yes, of course. The reason I'm in cities in the first place is you have to blame India and China for that. I was an architect in my early 20s, went to China in the 90s. And every project I was thrown on at the age of 23 was millions of square feet, acres and acres, very large scale projects. So I didn't do anything but work on big things straight through my 20s and into my 30s. I never knew anything else. In this case, though, I see the city not as the client. The city is actually the enabler. The client actually is all the private sector companies inside the city. The city only owns 5% of the assets, city government, in any given city. 95% of those assets are owned by the private sector, whether it's utility companies or real estate owners, etc. They own those assets. So the way we see it is that the city for us is an enabler of bringing this message to the private sector. So it's more of a partnership with the city to enable a commercialization to the private sector.
Thank you, Michael, for inspiring thoughts. You are pledging to help the most polluted urban centers become carbon neutral by donating the company's digital twin platform, Smart World Pro 2, to key cities one at a time. This newly released platform aggregates, integrates, analyzes, and visualizes all project and property information on a single 3D platform. Could you please explain how the technology works in practice?
Sure. So the best way to describe what Smart World Pro 2 looks like is like Sim City, but for real cities. It's also been called Google Earth on steroids. It's been called Minecraft for architects and engineers, all kinds of things. And those are all not bad. When you look at the software itself, what we've done is we've created a digital twin of environments, built environments, whether a project or up into an entire city. And the platform allows our users to basically make their own twin. So that means importing all those different types of data sets necessary to build a project, and including 3D BIM models. Those are the 3D models I referenced. We import multiple formats from multiple providers, GIS formats, IoT sensors, public data portals, myriads of data points can be integrated into a single platform like this. Once you do that, we have a suite of analytics tools called Mapalize. That's our app store, with integrations with third-party tools that perform analytics, whether those are microclimate simulations. They take the data and they simulate microclimate impact. We did that, for example, in the city of Amravati in South India. This was a new city. I think is the first capital city in India since Chandigarh, back 70 years ago, that was designed by Norman Foster. And our technology was used there to help the architects simulate the impact of their planning schemes on average street temperatures. So it was a significant project with a significant outcome. So yeah, it's very interesting. The capabilities of these tools are almost limitless in that sense. And our focus as a company has been mostly on, as you said, decarbonization, all things sustainability related.
Let's assume, Michael, I am the mayor of a major polluting city in the United States, and let's keep politics aside. Why should I engage in my city in your campaign? What's in for me, my city, and the people living in my city, and all the other private enterprises, as you just explained? And what do I have to invest to use your technology?
Well, yeah, a couple of questions. I think digital twin technology generally is valuable, particularly for data-driven cities or high-performance cities. So, that are using data to better determine various types of outcomes, whether those are mobility, water, waste, energy-related, etc. I believe that all cities should be investigating this technology today and working towards common standards to begin deploying it. The types of efficiencies that one can correlate between, for example, mobility and energy and demographics and spending. These are limitless. And so the power of these tools to help you understand better what's happened, the patterns of what's happening today, and then to predict future outcomes becomes extremely powerful. If I'm a mayor, my biggest challenge is understanding not only what's happening in a dashboards kind of way in my city every day. I would love to open up, for example, Smart World Pro 2 if I'm the mayor of Chicago, and be able to see any piece of information from a single street camera on an intersection to an Energy Star report from a building to a construction report from a new skyscraper on the water in a single dashboard. That type of information portal is massive. But beyond that, the ability to then use that data to make predictions that say, hey, there's too much development happening as part of the city. The impact on traffic is going to cost you too much over the next 10 years. You're going to have to shift things from here to here. Or that neighborhood is underserved. Not enough grocers there. That's why the health costs have skyrocketed. People are too far from hospitals. All these type of geospatial analysis is just immensely valuable to anybody planning, building, or operating a city. So what we've done is this pledge to these cities, we've connected it to our company's public capital raise. For every $1 million we raise, we're giving away one of these to a city. And we have a $15 to $20 million raise on right now, so that's quite a few cities. The intention really is to establish a core team of early adopters, early thinkers, a think tank around this, and also expose cities to this type of technology. For us, the benefit is manyfold. The technology, of course, will improve by working with cities, but also we'll get exposed to all the building owners and private sector entities in those cities who know that we're working with the city because they're using our model. So for us, it's kind of a pass-through. Again, it's a partnership with the city in order to eventually commercialize to the private sector. So I still feel that model is the way forward. I would like to work with cities more collaboratively. I would like cities to be involved actively in the development of the platform over time. And I think ultimately, if we're very successful, hundreds of cities will use this someday. A lot of their old proprietary technologies will no longer be important. And then people who have been denied access to this technology because they're not experts will be able to use this gamified version, get whatever they want, whenever they want to. So I think my view is that this is democratizing technology in cities. And actually, if you think about it, you talk about democracy, but the technology landscape inside cities is hardly democratic. You know, there's these incumbent technologies that have been holding cities back for years, which has made the deployment of smart city technologies in existing cities harder. So that's why you're seeing all this smart city tech come up in China, Southeast Asia, because those are new cities that are saddled with this legacy technology. So I think for cities, digital twins will give them a chance to leapfrog all of that legacy, that heap of legacy technology towards something much more flexible and scalable for the future.
What a great initiative, Michael. Wow.
Thank you. We're really proud of it, and we're glad to see the kind of uptake we're getting. We're going to be running television ads around the world. Yeah. So, in this country, CNN, CNBC, Bloomberg ran all of those already. And starting really from February next year, I think a lot of this momentum will take off. The roundtable with the city starts, I think, in February.
Okay, and we have our interview today. That's good. So we are one of the first.
We are very, very happy to. Yes, of course. You know, Europe is always ahead of everybody else with this stuff. I'm not surprised.
Our last question, actually, in this regard, that is correlating this topic, our conversation. You offer your technology to the most polluted urban centers in the United States, one at a time. As the United States, US, is a very large country, it may take many years until a tangible impact on carbon emissions in the US can be measured. You are very active on television and the international press. Are you aware of any similar projects in Asia or Europe that you could maybe approach for partnership to accelerate your own approach in the US and generate a benefit for the world with your technology?
That's a great question. I think, yes, our goal is to work with a lot of the other projects out there that have similar goals. We've seen recently the EU has announced a digital twin project for a very similar purpose. What we're exploring right now through our board, which is based, two of our board members are based in London, and they're working right now with EU officials to see where that can go. There are similar initiatives on in the Middle East, of course, throughout Asia. And then there are, of course, global initiatives. You know, we're looking for the ones that, at this stage in the game, the goal for a company like ours is to attach ourselves to and get involved with and help the important projects, the ones that are making some type of headway in decisions. So we've been fortunate so far as a small company to, you know, it's like an actor has to choose his scripts carefully. You know, we've been choosing our projects carefully too, you know, and these have helped us to get better. These have helped us to learn faster than others. And these allowed us to change more quickly. So I'm going to continue to look for those all over the world, right? And I do expect the EU actually to take a position of leadership here, and I'll explain why. There's a lot of, you know, I think, you know, the political push for climate change awareness, actually, I would say to some extent originated in Europe and everywhere else after that. Not that Asia didn't agree, but, you know, Asia's politics have changed tremendously in the last 20 years as that its region has become much richer. You know, 20 years ago, China hardly cared about these things. Today, they're making a pledge that by 2060, they'll go, you know, carbon neutral. So whereas, you know, you can see the seeds of this in Europe go way, way, way back. I still think that Europe will need to be a kind of intellectual center for this for a while. I think that, you know, I think Europe is going to continue to be a kind of example, especially for democratic nations as to how to do this right. And so, but I still hold that you know, going forward, the best thing to do is try to get everybody's input. You know, we're going to learn a lot of things. Asia's building fast. They're learning a lot. You know, the US has a bunch of smart tech people. You can't ignore us. You know, so I think if we can come together behind this globally, I think that's really our best chance, candidly, to take advantage of the best and the brightest wherever they are, put them in the same room, as it were, however, whatever that takes, and start solving problems. I think actually it's going to have to come down to that.
Michael, that's a fantastic initiative. Congratulations. And
thank you.
You're a great man to represent this.
Well, thank you. We're doing our best. Stay tuned to see what happens. 2021, well, this will be what we're doing. So stay tuned. Wish us luck.
Thank you very much, Michael. It was a pleasure to have you in Excellence Talk. Thank you very much for sharing your precious information. And I'm sure that our audience will be following your advices, your campaign, Clean Cities, Clean Future.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. This was great. I appreciate the questions, and I look forward to engaging with you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.